Alright, greetings and welcome back, gentles and ladiesmen, to episode 13 of Exo Plays Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest on the Game Boy Advance. In the last episode, we defeated the gigantic kerosene, and Kaptain K. Rool got away with Donkey Kong, so now we're chasing him towards his private airship, the Flying Croc, which we saw in the opening cutscene of the game, by the way. That was something that was kind of neat to see. And so this level is kind of annoying. This is Screech's sprint, and I say it's annoying because in this first part of the stage, you do need to make it through with both of your Kongs, just a heads up. And let's take care of those annoying fucking cat-o'-nine-tail enemies that I hate so much. Thank God you can kill them with the team-up move, but let's climb up past these mini-neckies real quick. And we'll hightail it over here. And throw ourselves up here for the lone bonus stage in this level. And this one's actually kind of interesting. So basically what the gimmick is here is we are using the abilities of both of our Kongs, and for some reason they bother to give you a DK barrel even though you couldn't possibly get in here without both Kongs. Maybe someone in the comments will prove me wrong and say, no, if you do this maneuver you can get up there. Possibly. I haven't tried everything myself, but all I know is that the simplest way to get up there is with the team-up move. Alright, so we have 14 Creme coins, we have one left, and as you can guess, we're probably gonna have a boss fight with Kaptain K. Rool, so... And we usually get Creme coins for defeating bosses, so yeah. So this is Screech. This is Kaptain K. Rool's parrot, because every pirate worth his salt has a parrot, after all. There is a shortcut for you. To give you a good, nice head start. By the way, you do die if you don't beat Screech to the finish. That's why it's called Screech's Sprint, because we are racing Screech to the finish through this bramble maze. And over here we have our DK coin. Nab that real quick. And if you manage to get hit on the brambles, then you have that to back you up on. And I don't know, this level is kind of annoying on the GBA, I'm not gonna lie, because of the lower vertical resolution, so you can't really see what's below you very well. It's not as bad as Mega Man and Base GBA, but, you know, guess spoilers for that review of that game, of which I will be defending heavily. And I just got hit like an idiot. And I just got hit again like an idiot. Oh well. I had kind of a tough time at this level in my very first playthrough, but it was another one of those levels where I was just like, I was having so much fun that I was never frustrated. I don't know, there's just something about the way that these three games handle difficulty. For the most part, Donkey Kong Country 3 has a few annoying levels in it, but that just works. It's kind of like the Jak games, like Jak 2, Jak 3. I don't know, those games are pretty challenging, but there was never any point where I was just like, this is impossible, or this is total bullshit. How is anybody supposed to beat this? It was just always kind of a nice challenge, and I don't know, just somehow losing just made me want to play the game more. So, yeah, and kind of same thing with this game, for the most part. Except when you can't fucking see what you're doing. Like, seriously, pan the camera up game, you can do that. Thankfully, it's not a persistent problem in this game, otherwise, maybe I would be able to agree with the people who complain about screen crunch in these ports. Because after all, most of the level design is pretty horizontal, and for the most part, the horizontal, the GBA frame is only a few pixels smaller. It's only like 16 pixels smaller horizontal-wise, so it doesn't make a huge difference. Alright, and for beating that stage, we get a scrapbook photo. And yeah. So next up, we have a choice of where we want to go. So we get a few options. So over here we have our last Funky's Flights mission, which we might as well get over with real quick. Drop in on the other Kongs, dudes. We're all here to help you guys. So, dude, think you're a pro pilot now, do you? Toxic construction. Rebuild the DK statue, but beware of entering the toxic waste. The gyrocopter will explode with the slightest touch of that green filth. Use the buttons on the walls to lower the waste. Then nip in and retrieve the statue parts. Okay, so here's the next. So obviously what we're doing here, as you can guess, is we are back with, basically we're putting together another statue. Like, I think that was like the third mission we did, was we were retrieving statue parts. Those are the bombs I was referring to all that time ago. And so basically what we're doing is it's kind of a combination of the last few missions where we have rising water levels, except instead of water, it's instant kill toxic waste from This looks like it takes place at Toxic Tower anyway. Let's see. And, okay, so here we have the bottom piece of the statue. So every time you grab a statue piece, for some reason, toxic waste reacts to that and wants to come up after you, which doesn't really make sense. And like I was alluding to earlier, if something that you are winching gets caught underneath something while you're trying to get it, then it will get stuck, and then you basically have to go shoot all the switches again to grab it again, which is annoying. So make sure that you're watching where your cargo is going as you're going through these passages. Otherwise, this is a pretty good final mission for the gyrocopter in my opinion. It's not too frustrating, but it is by far the most challenging, and in a good way. Unlike that second mission where I died the most for some reason. No matter, like every time I play this game, I die like several times in that, and I don't know why. It's not really hard or anything. It's just I get, I guess I get a little overeager. I guess that's not where we were supposed to go, but. You can still drop off the statue pieces up by there and put them back together later, so, worst case scenario, there really isn't a worst case scenario here. You're good either way. Right, grab more of those, drop this off here, and let go of it. For some reason the winch doesn't want to listen to my commands. Okay. Alright. So I think we didn't go down this way before, so this is new territory for us. There are a couple of branching paths along here, so this, I know, just a really good final mission in my opinion. I do enjoy playing this one. Some of these are just kind of and some of them are annoying, but this one I think is a pretty good use of the gyro. This is the gyrocopter at its best in my opinion. And just in terms of having a level that has some exploration in it, but doesn't go too crazy about it either. Looks like we have a choice of two pathways here. Which means we're basically gonna end up doing what we just did again, just to progress. We have DK's torso here. Let's grab that and pull her up this way. Make sure you give it a chance to catch up or it'll get caught on shit and you don't want that. Alright, looks like we're in the clear. Bring this back over to the statue area. I'll grab that arm and stick it back on. And I think we're gonna head back down this way, if nothing else then for variety's sake. I'm not really sure what the point of those little puzzles is, because it's just like... It's basically just guessing. And nobody wants to guess. It's not fun gameplay, if you ask me. But, what do I know? I've never made a game before. Actually, I have. In fact, I might have to show that off in the show. Maybe that'll be the next playthrough, is the game I made in PowerPoint when I was, like... 12? Not sure how old I was, but I made a couple of games in PowerPoint, actually. They're not very good, because, if you know anything about PowerPoint, then you know that you can just click on the slide to advance further, and kind of a game-breaking glitch, and it kind of ruins it. But I know it might be worth showing off just so that we can laugh at the bad art and whatnot. Okay, so we got one more statue piece left, and that's the head. So let's go back into the goo real quick. Go back into this passage, and so let's try not to hit the toxic waste, even though I'm impatient. I don't know, there's not really much else to say about this mission. So, yeah. I mean, I've been alluding to this throughout the playthrough, but there are definitely times where you can tell that stuff was... You know, you can tell when a sprite is new for this version of the game, just by the way it's shaded and the way it looks. And it almost kind of makes me wonder why they didn't just remake the game from scratch at that point, but... Because, like, the sprites from the original game have more dithering on them. In the ones that are new for this game, like the Diddy sprite and the gyrocopter itself, there's a lot more solid colors and whatnot, so you can really tell the difference. So, I don't know, maybe this game would look better on the GBA if they just remade all the graphics like that, but... I digress. Nice flying! I thought you'd struggle with that mission. Here, take this. You guys sure know how to fly the old bird. Here, take this photo as a token of my appreciation. Alright, we have 4 more photos left, and I think we get one for defeating Kaptain K. Rool, but I'm not totally certain about that. But either way, we're gonna go fight him first, because that's just the most convenient way to go about it, as far as I can tell. So, let's go chat with Wrinkly real quick. Well, just look at those sums the Kremlings have done. Disgraceful. Let's see, WrinklyCon. Oh, but one of my lessons are useful in your quest. Fuck you, bitch. Be careful now, Kongs. Just a minute, folks, I'll be right back. Alright, folks, so it's time for the final battle! It's time to take on Kaptain K. Rool aboard the Flying Croc, one of the most climactic final boss battles of all time. Here we go. Alright, so Kaptain K. Rool has quite a few attacks up his belt. Very interesting boss. The gimmick is he's obviously got a giant blunderbuss, and I only know what those things are called because of this game. And that blunderbuss is multifunctional. It can shoot out cannonballs, it can suck you in, and it can shoot it has magical capabilities as well. So basically what we're doing here is, every once in a while, so obviously there are spiked cannonballs and regular cannonballs. The regular ones you can pick up, the spiked ones obviously hurt you. So Kaptain K. Rool is gonna mix and match all these different attacks, and you have to basically keep on your toes as he keeps doing new things, which is interesting. And we've already beat him, or have we? So yeah, that's unfortunately gonna be kind of a running theme of this boss fight. So obviously now we've entered kind of the second phase of the fight, and in this one he's gonna start shooting spiked cannonballs that go in different patterns, and I don't know, since the cannonballs, you can't pick them up in midair anyway. You could probably have just left them as regular ones, but I guess they have a bigger hitbox, so I guess it makes them harder to dodge, maybe. Oh, fuck! By the way, you guys may have noticed that Kaptain K. Rool has car dice on his ship, which is, I always thought was cute. It's a cute little, because like sometimes, he'll attack you in a way that makes you go off towards the right, and then you can see them in plain view, which I always thought was kind of like a funny little thing that you could do. Alright, so now, as we're moving along with the second stage of the fight, where Kaptain K. Rool will be shooting cannonballs that will fly at you in a pattern rather than sitting on the floor like in the first stage. So you gotta time your jumps so that they're going kind of like straight at you, and this is a lot harder if you're playing as Diddy, obviously. But not impossible, it's just a little trickier. By the way, so as for that suck attack yeah, see, you can see the car dice very clearly here. Make sure that you keep grabbing those DK barrels because they're very useful. It's a nice innovation over the first Kaptain K, or the first King K. Rool fight, where you had to hit him like 9 times and you had to dodge every attack, and it was a bit much to do on 1 life. But here he hits you harder. He's overall harder to dodge in general, but they make up for that by giving you... Okay. This fight just got a whole lot trickier. So if there is anything I don't like about this final boss, it's that it's kind of long. It probably goes on for a good straight 3 minutes or so. And if you die, you do the whole thing all over again in either version of the game. And so, obviously, as you saw there, if he successfully sucks you in towards his gun, he will basically pistol whip you with the back of his blunderbuss, which I always thought was like a cute little animation. By the way, I love the Wile E. Coyote-inspired animation that happens when his gun blows up. It's cute. And by the way, those sound clips are from Donkey Kong 64, I'm pretty sure. You know, the ones that he makes when he, like, goes, whoa! Yeah, I'm pretty sure that those are lifted straight out of Donkey Kong 64, but if they're not, may I be struck by a flying ice cream truck. And live! Yeah, but it's... I will give it this, you were not waiting around in this boss, you were always doing something, so if it had to be kind of long, at least it's not long because you're just waiting for things to happen, like the Death Egg Robot, for example. Assuming that you know the special super secret strategy that makes the Death Egg Robot playable, but I digress. Like, I can't imagine fighting him any other way than the way I do it. But apparently people do like to try to time jumps into his stomach, even though the risk of instant death is there. It's just like, why would you want to do that when the other way always works? But I digress. Okay, jump over that. With Kaptain K. Rool, there's no special trick. There's no... It's not a knowledge-based boss. It's more like you can either dodge his attacks or you can't, which is how it should be. And I just realized I have to play this with Diddy, which is a lot harder. Alright. And if you time it correctly, they'll be, like, horizontally laid out in a line. That's when, obviously, when you want to go. Alright, and that should be the end of Phase 2. Grab our Dixie Kong. He'll come back for Phase 3. No! Oh, that was close. Yeah, your team-up move makes a complete joke out of his magic attacks. Like, they're like skull-shaped spells, like I don't know what they're supposed to be, I just always interpreted them as like magic attacks. Alright, this time I got you, you motherfucker. Alright, now we move on to the second part of Phase 3, where he will attack us with these things that if they touch you, the blue ones freeze you, the red ones will make you slower. And that's difficult because obviously you've got those spiked cannonballs you gotta dodge. Like, this boss is so much, can do so many different things, it's always keeping you on your toes, it's always finding something new, but always kind of sticking to one kind of set of rules. So it's just a fun boss to fight, I don't know what to tell you. And we got attacked by that thing, and now this is gonna get a whole lot more annoying. Oh shit! Alright, we got one more chance, folks. Alright, so what you need to do here is wait for Kaptain K. Rool to appear, and then run away from him. He will never appear directly on top of you, so as long as you wait around for him to appear and then run, he will never hit you in this phase. I used to run around all over the place, and sometimes he'd pop up right in front of me and get me, which is something you obviously don't want to happen. Alright. Yeah, make sure you don't get hit by that final Kaizo attack. Yeah, so those of you who say that Donkey Kong being kidnapped ruins his character or whatnot, he delivers the final blow on the final boss. Just a little detail you might have not have missed, apparently. Good work, but we have to get off this rust bucket before it crashes. Quick, Funky's waiting outside! And this is something that they added to the remake, and I like it. It just adds a little bit of tension after the final boss is, you know, finished off. Is the escape of an exploding airship? If that doesn't make this the best game in the trilogy, then I don't know what will. It's always satisfying to see Kaptain K. Rool tumble down the island that we spent this entire game climbing up. You Kongs think you are so clever, don't you? Come to my lair in the Lost World if you think you can really beat me. I knew you did it, Diddy, my boy, but how could you fail having learned all you know from old Cranky here? You've rescued that lazy grandson of mine and dumped K. Rool off his filthy island. Not bad for a novice. Of course, if I'd been playing, I'd have made sure that K. Rool never tried a cheap trick like this again. I reckon I'd have found all the Krem coins and completed the so-called Lost World. Oh well, can't expect everything from your first game, can we? One more thing, how many of my special video game hero coins did you find? A real player such as myself would have found plenty, I'm sure. Let's see how well you did, eh? And yeah, save after the final boss. Well, I've got a second screen, and about time, too. Now shut up, everyone, while I read the eagerly awaited results of my prestigious Video Game Hero Awards. Hey, not bad for a youngin'. Of course, you're gonna have to find a few more if you want to be as big a hero as I was. If you want to look at your limited progress on the screen, press the L and R buttons while you are on any of the map screens. Now buzz off and see if you can find more of my coins, which I very much doubt you will. Alright, so just something I want to point out is that they did change Cranky's second screen. There used to be a reference to Sonic the Hedgehog and Earthworm Jim with the little sign that says "No Hopers," which was surprisingly prophetic, but I digress. But yeah, as always, we have our usual end-of-game enemy roll call, which is always a pleasure, always fun. And unlike the original version of this enemy roll call, which took place at Clubba's cabin for some reason, Clubba's kiosk, rather, this takes place in different areas of the game, which I think was a good choice. And you know, I'm always down for having something on the deck of the Gangplank Galleon. The Gangplank Galleon, there you go. I can speak English, I swear. And of course, they gave all of the enemies unique animations and little things that they do that's kind of cute. Which is also a nice little step up from the original version. Yeah, these little things are the only reason I know what these enemies are called. Here we got Shuri's, which is one of the few names I do know. Puff Tuff. That's close to Puff Toss. I couldn't remember what they were called in the part 11. And I don't know, something about the way that they chose to color those big letters back there has always stood out to me. But I digress. Klinger. But yeah, I mean, should I offer my final thoughts now, or... I don't know, you don't get the credits after you get the true ending of this game, so I might as well get into it now. Donkey Kong Country 2, as I'm sure you all know at this point, is one of my absolute most favorite games ever made. Like, period. Like, if I were to make a top 3 favorite video games of all time, this game would probably be number 2, if not number 1. Because, you know, I don't have a solidified order for my favorite games. Like, I know that Super Mario Galaxy 2 is in the top 3. I know that this game is in the top 3. And honestly, I'm not sure what else would be in the top 3, personally. So those are my top 2. And, you know, this is just, in my opinion, the best 2D side-scrolling game ever made. Period. Full stop. Like, the first game was great. And, you know, obviously, it's not for everyone, and there are things in it that I, you know, criticized and made a point of pointing out in that playthrough. But, you know, with this game... just a second. Yeah, this game's a bit loud, so I just kind of want to be able to hear myself talk a little easier. But, you know, first game was great and all, and I love it to pieces. I'd play it any day. But the second game is just so much better in every possible way. Like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, the graphics are a huge step up from the first game, just in terms of color, really. it is amazing how much of a difference just a little splash of color makes when it comes to comparing the first two games graphically. Like, the environments in the first game looked fine for what they were, but, you know, just everything in that game was brown, gray, green, and white. And that's not, you know, the most attractive. Like, even just looking at this screen right here, look at all the color. And this is the GBA version, no less, but, you know, regardless, the environments are a hell of a lot more varied than the first game as well. Like, you know, I guess it kind of seeps into standard video game Super Mario Bros. 3 type tropes at that point, but still. It was great hopping through volcanoes and swamps and ice caves and ship decks, and I love the pirate theme in this game so goddamn much. It was something that weirded me out the first time I played it, but ever since then, it's just become one of my absolute favorite things about this game. I love that it's pirate themed. It just makes it stand out as a game on its own that much more because of it. I love the soundtrack in this game is fucking phenomenal. Whether it's on the SNES, as of course, but also on the Game Boy Advance. There are versions of the tracks that I prefer on this version of the game. And yeah, level design. The most important thing in a platforming game, in my opinion, is the level design. And it's just this game has nearly flawless level design, in my opinion. Like, virtually every level in this game, I think, is flawless in execution. Like, there are levels I like more than others, and I do find that Clobber Carnage is a bit annoying, maybe on your first playthrough, but everything else, like all the main stages that you have to play to beat the game, are perfectly fine. There's a nice amount of challenge, but not too much. But it's never so easy that it gets boring. Every single level in this game does something new, whether it's a new enemy or a new set piece, or just mixing and matching things that you've seen before in new and interesting ways. The animal buddies are way more fun to play with than they were in the first game, and the fact that there are levels that are kind of focused on them specifically means that you get a real test of their abilities, but they don't overdo the animal buddies either. There are only like a handful of levels in the game where there really are the focus, and there are still plenty of levels where they're just act like power-ups, like in the first game. And it's just... the bosses are not the best thing ever, but compared to the first game, they might as well be. Like, they're way more challenging, they're a lot more interesting than fighting, and they don't repeat any of them either. Like, I guess you could kind of count Cudgel, because he basically recycles Clubba's graphics and just with a palette swap, but still, you don't fight two versions of Cudgel in this game like you fight two versions of Really Naughty and Master Neki. Final boss is really climactic. I like the sense of the escalation of tension as you are climbing up Crocodile Isle from the very base, and then getting to watch Kaptain K Rool tumble all the way back down. I love the twist at the end where Kaptain K Rool almost gets away because he's scared of you, which, you know, always makes it feel great. The side quests are so much goddamn fun in this game, and very well paced as well. It's not like the first game. I don't really mind the bonus rooms that much, but I think the big problem is that beyond, you know, the intrinsic satisfaction of finding them, there's not really a point to finding them, which will obviously turn a lot of people off if Super Mario Sunshine is anything to go off of. So the fact this game just handles bonus rooms elegantly, in the fact that it's basically your path to unlocking extra special, extra difficult stages that you can play to test your skills that much further. I love playing as both Diddy and Dixie. Their physics and their movement and their controls are perfect. And, you know, Dixie's helicopter spin is always a joy to use. What else is there? I think that pretty much... I just love everything about this fucking game so much. Like, everything feels like it was tailor-made just for me. This game, to me, is the paragon of 2D side-scrollers. Like, I like Tropical Freeze, I like other 2D platformers and other franchises, but this game is by far the most replayable, the most consistently good, and especially for its time, for 1995, the game design in Donkey Kong Country 2 has really stood the test of time, and in many ways, I think it set the standards for, you know, basically obstacle-based action platforming games going forward. Like, you look at Crash Bandicoot, and it's copying a lot of the ideas that this game had down pat the year before. Like, bonus rooms, and the fact that the percentage goes over 100, and just little bits and pieces, like just the overall way that, you know, the overall Crash design philosophy reminds me a lot of the Donkey Kong Country series. And, you know, obviously you'll look at modern platformers from the Mario series, or the Sonic series, or what have you, and yeah, they're still doing things that this game first did back in 1995, and yeah. I fucking love Donkey Kong Country 2 with all my heart, and I will play it forever and ever for the rest of time. And I'm just rambling at this point, and odds are if you're watching this playthrough, you probably agree with me, or you've at least played this game before and enjoy it for what it is. I could never rank Donkey Kong Country 1, or especially Donkey Kong Country 3 over this, and I would pop this in to either my Game Boy Advance or Super Nintendo before I would ever replay Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I'm sorry. As good as the retro studio games are, the one thing that they're missing is pacing. This game is paced incredibly well. The levels don't go on too long. Even if you're going for 102%, it doesn't really expand your playtime by too terribly much if you're paying attention. And that's what I love about Donkey Kong Country 2. It's a game I can pop in and play through any day. Whether that's 102% run, or just a normal run, non-completionist run, so yeah. This has been a long finale episode, but I think I'm gonna have to split this off into another episode real quick, because we do need to get our scrapbook photos real quick, and there might be more to the story that we haven't seen yet, so we're gonna go for another part. See you guys in part 14 when we finish off this game once and for all.